let's go ahead and start this thing the right way because, like I said, we got a quarterback. All right. We officially have one. All right. So shout out to Mason Rudolph. Obviously, we dropped a reaction video when this initially broke. I think it was Thursday, if I remember correctly, where we obviously signed him to a 2-year deal, $8 million, 4.5 guaranteed. Now, what do we like about the deal? Man, I like a lot about this situation if we're going to be completely transparent. It's cheap, right? That's the first thing that I love about it. It's cheap. So it gives me the opportunity to still do a ton of other moves if I so choose. And those moves could consist of, like we're hearing right now, do you want to sign Aaron Rodgers? Is it Russell Wilson that we're waiting on? What does that look like? We got that flexibility. Hey, if we want to lean into Mason and say, Mason, you're going to be QB1. We're going to draft a quarterback and we're going to bring in a ton of, all right, sign another wide receiver, sign another running back maybe. And we're going to let you compete and we'll figure out who can be the guy for the season. I'm cool with that. That still is on the table. Heck, even if you wanted to trade for somebody, you still have that flexibility as well because of the amount of money that was committed to this contract. So in all of those facets, I love the deal. Second thing, when we get past the money part is this. We're familiar with Mason. We know Mason Rudolph, man. We drafted the kid here, played his whole rookie year or his rookie contract out and had varying levels of success, right? We saw him when he first had to start for 7, when 7 had the elbow injury. It was up and down, had some moments, got hurt, Duck takes over. He comes back at the end, plays well, gets hurt. Unfortunate. Waits, gets a chance to play again in that rain game versus the Detroit Lions. Plays well, we lose in overtime. From there, wait, finally gets a chance, him and Kenny Pickett. We know how that story plays out, but at the end, he's the guy that comes in and saves Christmas. Come on, man. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. If you know, you know. If you were there for it, you know it was a movie. It was magical, baby. And then obviously we know this past year, Tennessee. Up and down. I mean, but that's kind of been the story of Mason, right? Hasn't really had that organization that has committed to him 100% when they're saying you're QB1. Let's put together an offense that is geared towards you. So I think of the potential upside of that. I say, well, hey, man, can Mason, hand the football off and play action pass, deep balls, stuff like that? Yeah. I was like, can Mason, throw catchable balls up to DK Metcalf and George Pickens? I said, yeah, I think he could do that. Yeah. Can he hit Pat Fry move over the middle of the field? Absolutely he can. Why can't he do that? And we know Calvin Austin, he gonna hit you up in the seam, big speed. Mason is capable of doing all those things. Like, we know that. But the question is, how consistent can he do? Can he do it each and every week? And that is the biggest question. But the other thing that I do like is this, though. We talk about our offensive line and how it's questionable with the protection and if the new pieces at the new places are going to be varsity. Well, we said some of the limitations with Rodgers is his mobility. That's part of why he's been struggling more and more at this stage. We talked about Russ and how even last year we saw some of his limitations in mobility and how that affected him. Well, Mason Rudolph is probably the more athletic of both of those dudes at this stage if we're just talking about mobility. And that's the thing that when we're talking about another added element, that's another thing that's a little bit intriguing about the move. But the last thing that I would say is this. When we're just looking at the market, we're looking at what the reports are that Aaron Rodgers is potentially looking for. One report said 2 years, $90 million. That's $45 million per year. The other report says that the Vikings are potentially going to pay him upwards to $100 million. That'd be like 50 a year if he did a 2-year deal. I'm a big fan of Aaron Rodgers' game. But are we really saying at this stage, Aaron Rodgers is $40 million? Or actually $41 million? You know what I mean? Better like, if Mason's going to get $4 million this year, Aaron Rodgers at this stage, if he got 45 million, he's $41 million better than Mason Rudolph. I'm sorry. I don't think that's the case right now. Stop me if I'm wrong, but I do not think that Aaron Rodgers is $41 million better than Mason Rudolph. All right. So if it's up to me, I'm saying, man, if you don't cut that 43 ways, go get me a D tackle, go get me another wide receiver, go get me a running back, and we better rock out. What? That's my thing, man. But that's how I see it. I don't know how the organization sees it right now. They might be looking at Rodgers and seeing a lot of intrigue. But to me, man, when I think of this Mason Rudolph deal, when I think of everything that he brings to the table, not just from a speculation standpoint, because y'all know that's not what I do, but based off of what we have seen from him, I can cook with Mason, with DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, and whoever else I'm bringing in to those position groups, because we will have an excess of money, along with we still got draft action. Just an option. But that's the thing for me why I said, man, I am actually a fan of this move. I do think that worst case, you can really load it up and give it a go. Give it a go. Because what do you have to lose in this sense? We all talk about the whole Arch Manning element, right? Oh, Arch Manning is next year. Man, next year's draft supposed to have some better prospects in it from a quarterback standpoint. All right. Well, the problem is we can't get to next year without going through this year first. All right. So, not saying that we still can't draft a quarterback in this year's draft. But what I'm saying is before we have to commit a ton of money to one of these aging guys that clearly have played hard to get and clearly have shown that they think very, very highly of themselves. I'm just saying, man, I feel like Mason, man. Mason's been that steady Eddie, the dude that hasn't left, the guy that even when we've tried to kick him out, he's found a way to ball, and now he has found his way back, and he's like, hey, remember me? More money this time. Give him a go. That's what I'm on right now. Load it up around him. You can still draft you a quarterback. Let them two compete. I feel like Mason's going to beat out whoever we're bringing in at this stage of the draft, right? Because unless you're getting a Cam Ward, I think Mason would go at it with Shador. I think Mason goes at it with Jackson Dart. I think Mason goes at it with Will Howard. I'm just throwing it out there, my personal opinions on it. I think he goes at it with any of them dudes. And now you put weapons around him. Why can't he? We've already seen him make plays at this level. Why can't he? We've already seen him go on a 3-4 game winning streak. Why can't he? That's just how I see it. But we'll see with Mason, though. We will see, man. But like I said, fan of the move, man. Big fan of the move. But it still doesn't stop me from exploring other options. Now, some of them other options, we can get into some of them other options. We got some other options. I like some of these other options. But I think that this is the best option without either having to commit too much from a draft standpoint, without having to commit too much from a financial standpoint, without having to mortgage the future per se, while still maintaining a certain level of competitiveness and with the potential of high upside. But at the same time, it could belly out. And if it did do that, then, you get your draft picks that a lot of people be wanting. So just thought. But I like the Mason move, though. So shout out to Mason Rudolph, man, bringing it back to the black and the gold, man. So hopefully y'all are enjoying him in this signing. All right. But we shall see.